Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Why everybody didn't get the message, I think. Bhakti Shastri. Share my screen. Okay, so according to Bhagavad Gita, here 242 and 715. What is 242? See, it doesn't go there. So let me pull up on the other screen. So what is 242 saying? यामिमं पुष्पितं वाचं प्रवद्यन्ति अविपश्चितः वेदवादरता पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिना कामात्माना स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रिया विशेष बहुलां भोगेश्वर्य गतिं प्रति. So this is describing how in Vedas there is karma kanda, and one should not be distracted by this karma kanda section of the Vedas, which promise so many heavenly pleasures and things like that, fulfillment of one's material desires. So one should not be distracted from the goal of life by this karma kanda section. So those who have less knowledge, let's read. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so on. Okay, what happened? Why is it blurred? So, why is that visible? I don't know what happened. So let me sign out of Zoom and come back in. The camera. It was visible before, right? Now it's not visible. Or was it like that blurred from the beginning?
It was not blurred in the beginning, Prabhuji. It was good.
Now it's okay. Now you can see me or not?
Yes, yeah, we can see you.
I think there's some problem when I share my screen, then something happens, maybe. Share.
Yeah, able to see your screen.
And you can see me also, right? Okay. So let's go back. But I cannot see anybody else. Nobody has turned on their camera.
Kanchan Mataji has turned on.
Yeah, only Kanchan has turned on. And then nobody I can see.
I'm not in a very presentable, and also Nandini is with me, so I'll stay mute.
Okay. So, anyway, so Sridhar Priya Prabhu is there. Pradyumna. Okay, so men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation. So, to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So, Krishna is saying Vedas come from Krishna only, but Krishna is saying that don't be attracted to this flowery language of the Vedas. Then why has he returned? Because why these Vedas are there? Vyasadeva compiled all this. But why is there? Because some people want to enjoy. So there must be some provision in the Vedas. So that's why it's there. But it's not the highest thing. Like we know in the yoga ladder, Karma Kanda is the lowest rung of the ladder, Karma Kanda. So why? Because it will take you to heavenly planets and you can enjoy there, but there is a time when it will end. Everything comes to an end. So it is not very wise to go to a place where things are temporary. So they're saying that go to a place where it's permanent. Don't go where there is temporary. Krishna is saying that, right? Shene punya martya lokam vishanti, when your punya runs out. And 7:15. So there are two kinds of people. There are those who are attached to karma kanda. They don't surrender to Krishna. And then there is all these other categories of people: the atheist, the foolish, the miscreants, those whose knowledge has been stolen by illusion. So, okay, according to Bhagavad Gita 2:42 and 7:15, mistaken mundane educators are known as Vedavada Rata and Maya Aprita Jnana. They may also be atheistic demons, the lowest of men. So, Dushkritina. Those who are Veda Vadrata pose themselves as very learned in Vedic literature, but unfortunately they are completely diverted from the purpose of the Vedas. So they may speak so many shlokas and so many pujas they can do. They may know so many vidhis and all that, but they don't know the goal of life. What is the goal of the Vedas? In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said the purpose of Vedas is to know the personality of Godhead. But these Vedavadarata men are not at all interested in the personality of Godhead. On the contrary, they are fascinated by such fruitive results as the attainment of heaven. So they are more interested in improving their material life than in Supreme Personality of Godhead, in service to Supreme Personality of Godhead, which will ultimately everybody wants happiness, but the conception of happiness, what the Vedavadaratas, those who are attracted by the flowery language of the Vedas, they want to find happiness in another way. That's what it is. So, so one should not be attracted to the Karma Kanda section. Why do you think they have Ganesh on all the marriage wedding cards and they put Ganesh? Because Ganesh removes obstacles to material life, material enjoyment, right? So that's why they put Ganesh there. Um, so because we all want, why we do all this, I should go in the house at a certain time, my house should be according to Vastu, because we are all desirous that our material life, I mean, not we, I'm not devotees, but generally people are doing all this because they want that their material enjoyment should go on without any impediment. And nobody likes, right? Nobody likes bad health. Nobody likes financial losses. So they want to, but devotee is above all this because he surrenders to Krishna. And then whatever Krishna wants, even if distress comes, devotee thinks it's good for me, right? Because this distress is bringing me closer to Krishna. So he's not trying to get all this material happiness and like that. So he's not trying to do all this kind of karma kanda thing activities which people do because he depends on Krishna. And when you depend on Krishna and you chant Hare Krishna and you surrender to Krishna, then Krishna takes charge of you. So that is why the devotees are not interested in the karma kanda section of the Vedas. As stated in Mantra 1, we should know that the personality of Godhead is the proprietor of everything, and that we must be satisfied with our allotted portions of the necessities of life. Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. The purpose of all Vedic literature is to awaken this God consciousness in this forgetful living being. And this same purpose is presented in various ways in different scriptures of the world for understanding of a foolish mankind. Thus, the ultimate purpose of all religions is to bring one back to Godhead. So, Karma Kanda also ultimately, it is to bring you to a higher platform, ultimately to Bhakti Yoga. So, everything is meant for going back to Godhead. Ultimate purpose of all. That's why in Muslim also they say Jannat, right? Jannat, they say we get in Jannat, which in their mind, whatever it may be, but it's like the spiritual world. And Christians also talk about the kingdom of God. So, but the Vedavadarata people, instead of realizing that purpose of the Vedas is to revive the forgetful soul's lost relationship with the personality of Godhead, take it for granted that such side issues as the attainment of heavenly pleasure for sense gratification, the lust for which causes their material bondage in the first place, are the ultimate end of the Vedas. So they think that enjoyment is the ultimate goal of life, material enjoyment. As Prabhupada says, they think this is instead of realizing that we are meant to connect with Lord in devotion, they take other things as priority in their life. They think this is the purpose of the Vedas. The purpose of the Vedas is how you can make a better material situation. But purpose of Vedas is stated in 15:15. What is that verse? 15:15. Krishna says the purpose of the Vedas. Prabhupada.
वेदेशाहं हृदयसन्निविष्टो वेदान्तकृतवेदवित् एव चाहं सर्वस्य चाहं हृदय सन्निविष्टो मत्तः स्मृते ज्ञानम् अपोहनं च वेदस्य च सर्वे अहं वेदो वेदान्तकृतवेदवित् एव चाहम्.
Yeah, so that is the purpose of the Vedas. So you cannot know the purpose of Vedas because Vedas are vast. So that's why Brahma Samhita says you have to go to a devotee. Vedeshu durlabham. Krishna is very difficult to find through the Vedas. Vedeshu durlabham. Vedeshu durlabham.
Adurlabham Atma Bhakta.
Adurlabham Atma Bhakta. So, but very easy to find through the devotees or when you become a devotee, Atma Bhakto, then Krishna can be understood. So Vedas are, that's why you require guidance. We require guidance. Such people misguide others by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. Sometimes they even condemn the Puranas, which are authentic Vedic explanations for laymen. So Puranas are they are histories that they explain more nicely what is in the Vedas. But they don't accept that. The Veda Vadaratis and Bhagavatam is the Amal Puran. So there's the spotless Puran, the highest Puran. The Veda Vadaratas give their own explanation of the Vedas, neglecting the authority of great teachers. They also tend to raise some unscrupulous person from among themselves and present him as the leading exponent of Vedic knowledge. So they make their leader and they say, oh, this person, he's the one who knows everything. Such Vedavadaratas are especially condemned in this mantra by the very appropriate Sanskrit words. Vidyayam rataha. Vidyayam refers to the study of Vedas because the Vedas are the origin of all knowledge. And rataha means those engaged. Vidyam rata thus means those engaged in the study of the Vedas. The so-called students of the Vedas are condemned because they are ignorant of the actual purpose of the Vedas on account of their disobeying the acharyas. Because they are not connected to a disciplic succession, a bona fide disciplic succession. So they don't have such Vedavadratas search out meanings in every word of the Vedas to suit their own purposes. Even Bhagavad Gita also, they take out some meaning from it. They do not know that Vedic literature is a collection of extraordinary books that can be understood only through the chain of disciplic succession. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in order to understand the transcendental message of the Vedas. That is the direction of the Mundak Upanishad. These Vedvadrata people, however, have their own acharyas, which are not in the chain of transcendental succession. So they have their own acharyas. They are not in a parampara. Thus they progress into the darkest region of ignorance by misinterpreting the Vedic literature. They fall even further into ignorance than those who have no knowledge of the Vedas at all. So to misinterpret the Vedas is a big disservice, and to propagate the wrong understanding is a big disservice. Then to actually just not say anything because you don't know. So those who are ignorant, they will not speak all the wrong philosophy because they are not learned in Sanskrit. They don't know. But those who are learned and they have the wrong understanding, they will also misguide other people. So it's instead of doing service, they are doing disservice. So we should not misguide anybody from Krishna consciousness. We should speak the right philosophy that we have heard in disciplic succession. The Maya Aprita Jnana class of men are self-made gods. Such men think that they themselves are God and that there is no need of worshipping any other God. They will agree to worship an ordinary man if he happens to be rich. Or sometimes celebrities are worshipped, like there are temples for celebrities, maybe Amitabh Bachchan. They will have Sachin Tendulkar, because they have some talent or they're popular, they are rich, they are beautiful, but they will never worship this personality of Godhead. Such men. So what is the use of worshipping anybody else? Because they will not help you. When you may worship somebody who is a celebrity, but are they going to help you? They themselves cannot help themselves, right? So how they can help others? And they don't know you. Whereas Krishna knows everybody. And Krishna is all powerful. He can help. And he is mukta. He is liberated. So, and he has everything that we are looking for, right? We say we are looking for beauty, we are looking for wisdom, everything he has. So such men, unable to recognize their own foolishness, never consider how is it that God can be entrapped by Maya, his own illusory energy. If God were ever so if they are God, then how they are entrapped by Maya? So they don't consider that how is that possible? How that God can be entrapped by Maya. Sometimes people say, well, you are entrapped, you are God, but you are in illusion. So afterwards, when you become free from illusion, you will realize that you are God. But if you are God in the first place, how come you came under illusion? So illusion is more powerful than God. Because God came under illusion. Then that philosophy doesn't make sense. If God were ever entrapped by Maya, Maya would be more powerful than God. Such men say that God is all powerful, but they do not consider that if he is all powerful, there is no possibility of his being overpowered by Maya. These self-made gods cannot answer all these questions very clearly. They are simply satisfied to have become God themselves. And they say, you are also God, and I am also God. So So we are God, but we are sample God. We are unsure of God. Okay, so this is the so this verse is saying those who engage in the culture of nascent activities, ignorant activities, and they preach also shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. The so-called knowledge may refer to, yesterday we were talking about that song. Material knowledge is so-called knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is the real knowledge. But material knowledge is okay if you know the goal of life. But otherwise we propagate like this, okay, that life comes from matter. There is everything came about by chance, like that. So many things, so many theories are being propagated. So that's not proper. And such people will go to the darkest region of ignorance. Means they will rotate in the cycle of birth and death, or they will go down to the animal kingdom, darkest region of ignorance, or to hellish planets. Like that. So Krishna is okay. So that verse we read. So the next verse we'll read. Text number 10. Anya devahur vidyaya nyadahur avidyaya iti sushrama dhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nations. Yeah, that is obviously right. If you follow the path of light, you'll be in light and you'll get a different result than those who follow the path of ignorance. Okay, so let's see. And we finish this. As advised in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, 13:8 through 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. This is one verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is talking about the items of knowledge. So many places Krishna says in 16th chapter, verse 1 to 3 also, he talks about items of knowledge. And this one also, he talks about all the different items. He said, this is all knowledge. Besides this, whatever is there is ignorance. So what is that? Let's read that since Prabhupada has quoted that here. So one should culture knowledge in the following way. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa shantirarjavam acharya upasanam saucham स्थैर्यमात्म विनिग्रह इंद्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम अनहंकार एवच जन्म मृत्यु जरा व्याधि दुख दोषानुदर्शनम असक्तिरनाभिस्वंगः पुत्रदारा गृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्टोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्य योगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेश विविक्तदेश सेवित्वम् रतिर्जन संसदि अध्यात्म ज्ञान नित्यत्वम् तत्वज्ञानार्थ दर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानम यदतोन्यथा. So humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement with children, wife, home, and the rest, even-mindedness, amid pleasant and unpleasant events, constant and unalloyed devotion to me, aspiring to live in a solitary place, detachment from the general mass of people, accepting the importance of self-realization, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. All this I declare to be knowledge, and besides this, whatever there may be is ignorance. So every quality Prabhupada has elaborated upon in the purport. So when we come to Bhagavad Gita in our thing, after this we will maybe I will do Bhagavad Gita. So we'll start with Bhagavad Gita. Before that, we will do the Nectar of Instruction test and Isopanishad test also. We'll revise some verses and then we'll have some test. And then you'll be done with Bhakti Shastri next year, hopefully, year end. So, as advised in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, one should culture knowledge in the following way. And then you can teach Bhakti Shastri. You have to take the teacher training course. and then you can teach Bhakti Shastri. As advised in chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, one should culture knowledge in the following way. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. I don't know this. I think it's the sun. So this is what is there. So what is the culture of knowledge? Krishna says in 13.8 through 12. What is that culture of knowledge? One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. That is amanitvam. You should respect everybody, everybody's spirit soul. Amanina manadena. Learn to give proper respect to others. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. Adambitvam, pridelessness. So one should not be very proud that I am very. So for name and fame. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by actions of his body. So ahimsa. So we should not cause pain to others by our words or our actions. Krishna says, Yasman no dvijate loko. Yasman no dvijate loko. In the Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter.
लोकान् नोद्विजते च हर्षमर्ष भयोद्वेगे मत्ताय सत्यमे प्रिय.
So one who does not put Yasman no udvijate loko, by whom others are not put into anxiety, and who is not put into anxiety by others. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chaya. Udvija means anxiety. He is not disturbed by others, neither he disturbs others. Such a devotee. Harsha Marsha in happiness, Harsha and Marsha in Bhaya and fear. Harsha Marsha, Bhayodvege. Equipoise like that is very dear to me. So one should not become a source of anxiety to others by actions of his body, by thoughts of his mind, or by his words. So ahimsa. Prabhupada says ahimsa means not to put others into distress by doing violence, either with words or with body. Also, he gives a nice definition of non-violence means to what? To not allow others to suffer also. Like supposing when there was COVID, right? Everybody was suffering. And if you had the COVID vaccine at that time, and if you don't give it to others, then it's bad, right? Because you are not withholding something that you have, and you are not using it to relieve the suffering of others. So Prabhupada gives that definition also. He says non-violence means to allow people to suffer. If you have Krishna consciousness and if you don't preach this, then it is also violence. Non-violence is generally taken to mean not killing or destroying the body. But actually non-violence means to not put others into distress. People in general are trapped by ignorance. So of course, you don't put them into distress, but if they are in distress, you also help them by giving them spiritual knowledge. So people in general are trapped by ignorance and the material concept of life, and they perpetually suffer material pain. So unless one elevates people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. So you have spiritual knowledge, and if you don't share it with others, you are practicing violence. Anyway, so it's a novel definition of violence. One should not become a source of anxiety. One should learn forbearance. That is amanitvam, madambitvam, ahimsa, shantir. That's tolerance. One should learn forbearance, even in the face of provocation from others. This is like amanina manadena, tarorapi sahishnuna. So tolerance, even if there is others who are provoking you, Prabhupada writes a statement, the greatness of a person is estimated by one's ability to tolerate the most provoking situations. So does it mean we will not protest? Somebody is abusing us. Will we just silently suffer the abuse? What do you say? Let's ask Charuta.
No, we should not silently suffer. But I mean,
So what is exactly forbearance? Then the question is that one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. Do you have any idea? Alankar Prabhu, maybe he wants to.
So maybe tolerate and react in the right way. Like, we have so many examples. So provocation, or you said, somebody's abusing. So I was thinking of Haridas Thakur. Yeah, he was beat up. He was abused in the marketplaces in public, but it's not like same thing, Nityananda Prabhu also. Jagai Madai, they abused him physically. So how they reacted. So, like, someone may also think that, oh, this is my past karma. But definitely definitely do not tolerate when it comes to other devotees and the deities and the Lord.
Okay, let's hear from who else is there? Preeti, if you want to say anything.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Alankar Prabhu has said that first thing that the tolerance is like, we can endure the ability to endure the criticism, pain, or difficulty without being disturbed. So it is like, it has to be remain peaceful in the amid changes. So yeah, I mean, one should tolerate as much as they can, but it's about different things also, like in different situation, how you react and how one should tolerate. It depends the circumstances. Like if there is something violence is going on, then one should not tolerate. One should take some steps. And if something is like, maybe someone is criticizing me, then we have to evaluate also, is it something, its criticism is actually there in me or not? If it is there that it's my fault, then I have to correct also and accept that criticism. And if something is going on like that makes a bad image or any physical violence or something, then one should take a step also. We cannot be just silent. Like that. And of course, one cannot tolerate if any other devotees or anything is criticized or like that.
Yeah, so sometimes there'll be words spoken that may hurt you, but that should not disturb. Oh, I cannot chant my japa because somebody said something to me like in. So we should not see. That's also directly related to humility. If you are proud, then little things disturb you very much. But if you are humble, then you think, oh, I don't deserve so much respect. A proud person is offended very easily. Like Durvasa Muni. He was offended just because he drank some water. Charnamrit, this Amrish Maharaj. But if you feel, but of course, if there is physical violence and things are there, then you have to, because it's now may cause injury to you and like that. So you may have to say something or do something about it, defend yourself, or yeah. So
Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita that one has to learn tolerance in the face of dualities, such like happiness and distress, cold and warm. So tolerating such dualities and becoming free from the anxieties.
Another thing is also tolerate. We have to tolerate our mind, tolerate our desires, right? Sometimes the desires are very strong. That doesn't mean I will act on that desires if they are not favorable for bhakti or like that. So, or some things we want to do, we want to become angry at somebody and shout or things like that. So that's how it's not so easy, but we have to tolerate. And so one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others.
So Prabhuji, how to
Hmm.
Prabhu, I just want to tell one thing. This most of the time, this tolerance as the different situations. When we know that the person is weaker than us, we can react or respond to that one. If the person is kind of very strong, or he have more power and all these things, even though we try to tolerate, try to reply that thing or anything, but the most of the situation we won't do. We just tolerate.
Hmm.
So the always it won't happen like it if somebody is pulling or pushing us, we don't have that kind of an situation where we can respond to them or react to them.
Hmm.
It's not in practical word, it works very differently.
Hmm. Okay, so yeah, it also depends on our like level of, so what Haridas Thakur could do, we may not be able to do like that. He was also not tolerating only, he was praying for their deliverance. While they were beating him, uh, he was praying for their deliverance. So, but we have to act according to our own consciousness and, try to do what is best. And we can consult some other devotees that I am facing this person is provoking me. So what can I do? How should I react and things like that. So we have to also see where we are at and what the others can do. It's not always possible for because we are not at that level of consciousness, and naturally it will come out. But of course, we try to come to a higher platform. But yeah, sometimes in the heat of the moment, we don't know exactly. Our mind just takes over. So that's why sometimes they say you have to remove yourself from a situation and then think about it and not instantly, decide what you want to do. So one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. Hmm. So one should be straightforward. One should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master and render him service and ask relevant questions. So, amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shantir, arjavam. Arjavam is simplicity. Acharya upasanam, then saucham, cleanliness. In order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. One must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. So we have to follow the regulative principle. One should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to interest of self-realization. That includes so many things. So giving up things that are not favorable. One should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. One should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. One should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. So for everybody is going to die, everybody is going to get old, and everybody is going to get diseased. If we become old enough. So there is no material solution to this problem. So we should not try. Instead, try to become Krishna conscious. That way we will escape the cycle of birth and death. So many scientists are trying to get rid of these miseries, but it's not going to happen fully. So the only way to get out of this, because our problem is not a material problem, our problem is a spiritual problem. And it cannot be solved by any material means. Our problem is that we have turned away from Lord. That's why we are in this material body. And that's why we are going through this struggle. So no material it's a consciousness problem. So we have to turn back our consciousness to Krishna. Then only we can get rid of our all these problems of birth, death, old age, disease. Otherwise, you cannot. One should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. Means not be overly attached to things one has. So whatever is necessary for living a healthy life, that is required. One should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. So there should not be too much. There is some attachment, but not excessive attachment. That one forgets the goal of life. One should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. So my mind is perceiving, oh, this is happy situation, this is distressful situation. So one should detach oneself from one's mind's feelings. Don't think that the state of your mind. Normally, we are depressed means my mind is depressed. We say like that, I'm depressed, I'm this, that, because we are identifying with this mind. So don't think whatever the mind feels, happy or distress, is your distress and happiness. But because that identification is so strong, because of our conditioning with the body and the mind, so we think that my mind is now enjoying, so I'm very happy. But actually, so these are just some feelings that are created by the mind. The mind makes up a whole big image of so many things. And one should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. That is Mai Chanani Yogena, Bhakti Rabhya Vicharini. That thing, this is the most important of all the. One should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, of all Vaishnava qualities, Krishna Eka Sharanam. This is the most important quality. He has taken shelter of Krishna. And then all the other qualities will come by becoming a devotee of Krishna. Because we will chant here and then our heart will become clean by coming in contact with Krishna. And then all the good qualities will manifest. That's why Prabhupada said the devotee is a perfect gentleman. One should become a perfect gentleman. So till we are not clean, we are not perfect. But if we stick to the process of Krishna consciousness and try also to cultivate, then eventually we'll become. First, we will know what are the wrong things or wrong habits or wrong desires we have. We will know, first of all. Krishna will make us aware. And then we cannot give up on our own because these are all desires which are very strong. So then we chant Hare Krishna, then slowly we get the strength, we get higher taste. Then we will be able to give up. But it takes time. That's why we have to be patient. Utsahad Nishayat Dhairyat. We have to be patient. Don't think that, no, I've been chanting for 10 years now. Still, I'm having all these anarthas in my heart. Yeah, 10 years is nothing compared to the millions of lifetimes we have been years in this world. So we should not give up. Like Yashoda is teaching us, don't give up the effort to bind Krishna. Even there may be failure, even there may be like discouragement in so many ways. Don't give up. So because this is the truth. Other than this, what is the truth? There is no truth else. Other than Krishna consciousness, what is the truth? There is no truth. So one should develop a liking for a residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere, favorable for spiritual culture. So we should go to a calm place, like we have our sacred space in our house where we can just be very peaceful, away from everything, chant Hare Krishna. We can go to a park. In America, parks in the morning are very empty. You can sit under a tree or somewhere on the bench, chant Hare Krishna. So, or in your home, wherever. So we should spend some time alone with Krishna. Like this Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, one should spend time alone, right, with the holy name. Just me and the holy name. That's our japa time, actually. And one should very focused and chant the Hare Krishna mantra, hearing very nicely. Let me read the quote for you to inspire. The devotee should make it a regular practice to spend a little time alone in a quiet place and concentrate deeply on the holy name. He should utter and hear the name distinctly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Very, very nicely we should utter all the words and hear. It is impossible for the jiva to single-handedly avoid and overcome the illusion of distraction by the mercy of the Lord. However, this is accomplished with ease. So we can meditate on Krishna like alone and just sit and just be away from all the phone and everything, computer. Because as somebody was saying that how the messages pop up and then you get sidetracked. So, and it is very easy. Like in America, you have very quiet places in the home. When I first came to America, I was astonished how quiet it is here in the house or wherever you're living. You don't hear anybody. It's very quiet. In India, always there is some noise going outside. Somebody has put a loudspeaker, or the dogs are barking, or so many things. And the vehicles are blowing their horns. So maybe there are some places where I was living beside a main road. So always the trucks going, on the highway. So there is always sound going on. But here you come, it's very quiet. So you can focus very nicely. So we can go inwards. We can think about the goal of life. We should contemplate like that. Just sit and think who I am. I'm spirit soul. I've been through many lifetimes. Krishna, now I've got this human life. Please help me, Krishna, like that. Some prayer we can pray in silence. And Hare Krishna mantra is also prayer. One should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. So we should conduct research in the spiritual knowledge. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nations, ignorance. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. We sang this song yesterday, Vidyara Vilase, right? Vidyara Vilase. And in that he says, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that how I become a Gadha. Yeah, by this. Jada Vidya. Jada Vidya Jata Mayara Vaibhava Tumara Bhajane Bada Moha Janamiya Anitya Sansare Jiva Ke Korae Gadha. What is the translation? He says, all the so-called knowledge of this world is born of the flickering potency of your illusory energy, Maya. It is an impediment to the execution of devotional service to you. Indulgence in mundane knowledge verily makes an ass of the eternal soul by encouraging his infatuation with this temporary world. So, So it's not like it's bad material knowledge, but we should know that we should not become too enamored by all these things. Spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. Okay, so the same principle is found here in Sri Isopanishad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. So you have to work hard, like on the weekend and this and production support and so many things. Like we have to work like that. Oh, this job, 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 and this. What can we do? We are in this situation. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic. But unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. So people sometimes who are not devotees, but they think themselves very spiritual. They say this is very bad, this system is very bad. But because they don't know what actually the knowledge is, so they cannot change the situation. In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. Due to wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. The Sri Isopanishad very strongly warns that the culture of nations is different from that of knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nations only. Consequently, scientists are busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not given instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate student life, nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus, there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to cultivation of nations by the general people. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space, along with many other lumps. Prabhupada says this earth is a lump of matter, and there are so many lumps of matter like that floating in the space. So nobody considers, they are too much nationalistic, they are thinking. As one devotee was saying, that we have put a boundary and we say, oh, this dirt is my land and that dirt is your land. So this dirt is like very special to me because this is on this side of the border and this is my. But Prabhupada is saying this is just dirt and it was there before you came in this world and it will be there after you leave this world. But some people think like, oh, this is my country and this is my nationality. No one considers that this tiny earth is just a lump of matter floating in an immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are just like dust particles in the air. Yeah, it's like when you have a sun beam come and then you see all the, if you have seen sometimes, all the dust particles are floating and in the beam of the sun, you can see all this. So similarly, there are innumerable planets. They are just floating like dust particles in the air. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves. They are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. So they are floating, big masses are floating in the air by Krishna's arrangement because Krishna has entered into the orbit. Krishna says that I entered into the orbit and that's why all the planets are floating. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, right? Anybody knows that verse? Aham Ojasa. So Krishna is holding all that. Of course, we say law of gravitation and all that. So in 15th chapter, verse 13, it said, Krishna is saying, so nothing is happening just arbitrarily. Of course, scientists may say law of gravitation, but the law is there because Krishna is. Gam avishya cha bhutani dharayami aham ojasa pushnami chaushadhi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. So if Krishna was not there, then these planets would not, first of all, exist, and nothing would exist. It's all because Krishna is there. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. And they are also perfectly equipped. That is the first verse. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. The drivers of our spaceship may be very proud of their achievements, but they do not consider the supreme driver of this greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. So when we float a Sputnik or anything like that, we are very proud, oh, this person came back from space, right? There is a whole reception. The astronauts came back from space. They drove their spaceship and they entered back into, but Prabhupada is saying they are not considering who is driving all these planets and who is moving all these planets. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also. As infinite small parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus, we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years, although it is gradually decreasing to 20 or 30 years. Many people are dying in their 40s, 50s. Thanks to the culture of nations, befooled men have created their own nations. So if we want to make spiritual progress, we should think our life is very short. Like as we were hearing, that death is around the corner. Then we will be very serious. And it is true only, right? How many decades will live? People die in their 70s. So many, nobody generally lives. And even if you live longer, in 80s, 90s, you may not have good health. Then you don't even want to live because it's so painful. So only few years we have to perfect our life. So we should make the best use of this. So not be befooled by Maya. Don't be tricked by Maya. Thanks to the culture of nations. And how we can not be tricked by Maya? When we read Prabhupada's books, when we hear from the pure devotees, then we can remain. Otherwise, we'll become tricked and tricked by the illusion, Thanks to the culture of nations, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. So we have made our own boundaries and our nations. Such foolish people drop various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. Like India, so many anxiety, China on one side, Pakistan on one side. And Pakistan also, for them, India is a source of anxiety. Then Afghanistan is there on the other side. So for Japan, China is source of anxiety. For Taiwan, China is the source of anxiety. Like everywhere, there is all this. Every nation has become a source of anxiety for others. More than 50% of nations' energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. So much defense budgets. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge. Yet people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock. Isopanishad warns us of this faulty type of education. And the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. So Isopanishad says there are so many verses cautioning us against these faults. And Bhagavad Gita gives us how to develop real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya must be acquired from a Dhira. This mantra, the wise, have explained that one result. So we should learn from a wise person. A Dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized. Dhiras tatra na muhyati. Krishna says, right, you can be undisturbed, one who knows. Dhira. Dhira is used anywhere, right? One who can control his senses. First verse of Nectar of Instruction, right? Sarvam apimam, what is that? Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam udarapasta vegam, etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira. Those who are sober, those who are peaceful, those who can think, not very distracted. From there, from such a person who is not disturbed by material illusion, from such a person we should learn. No one can be undisturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized. At which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. A dhira realizes that the material body and mind is acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. So his body and mind are external to me. These are not the real I. And I have gotten this by chance, of course, by my karma through material association, but they are not me. And let me just, the material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. We are not supposed to get this. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world, but this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lumps of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. So we have made many different shapes and things like that in this world. We are superior energy, so we can manipulate the inferior energy, the matter. Aparayam itastvanyam prakritim vidhime param. Jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. Krishna says that we are the superior energy and we are manipulating this. So the dead world appears to be a living world. So many skyscrapers, roads, and actually it is the living souls, the part and parcels of the supreme living being who move the world. The dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nascent education. One can become a dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became a dhira by submissively hearing from Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning vidya, knowledge, from the dhira, the undisturbed. An adhira, one who has not undergone the training of dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as dhiras are actually adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then they can lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? One must hear submissively from dhira in order to attain actual education. Okay. So one must be free from anxiety, undisturbed. That is only possible when one is a bhakta. Krishna bhakta nishkam ateva shanta. Everybody else is disturbed. Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakala ashanta. Krishna bhakta nishkam ateva shanta. So we have to find such a devotee who is nishkam, who is free from all material desires, both gross and subtle, and should learn, who knows the science of Krishna. Like we say, Kiba vipra kiba nyasi shudra kene noy. Yei Krishna tattva veti shay guru.
Guru hoy.
Guru hoy.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. One is Vipra, Brahmana, Kiba, whereas one is sannyasi, but one who knows the science of Krishna, and so we should approach such a person and hear from them because they know the knowledge. They know they have gotten this knowledge in parampara, and they know. So then we can also become a dhira. By associating with dhira, we can also become dhira. So that's why hearing is very important, hearing from the right source. Okay. So we'll stop here. It's 9 o'clock, 1 hour over. Anything else anybody like to say?
Prabhu, I had asked in the chat also.
Chat.
Are we
I've
having
not
exam?
been-
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah, chat. Okay, I'm looking at the chat now. Yeah. But it's not showing here anything.
Not here on WhatsApp.
Oh, about the nectar of instruction test, right?
Yeah, and then also how are you planning to do Isopanishad test?
How
Like
should we
after
do?
everything
Because
is over.
so yeah, so I will give you some open book assignments that we have. And then after you are done with those, then we can give the test. Or at least, yeah, you can answer all those questions. You know the answers to those questions. Is that okay? Or you're directly ready for the test, right? You don't need any assignments.
No, Prabhu, we need the assignments. Please show me, send the assignments, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you feel the best, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll send that nectar of instruction. I think I sent verse 1 and 2, but I'll send 3 and 4 also. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone, for
Hare
joining.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.